Utah has many missing persons cases within its national forests. One of those happened to be the disappearance of a Finnish man who went missing in the Ashley National Forest in March 2025. He went to look for gold in the Uinta Mountains and hasn't been seen since. He's just a young man far from home, drawn to a wilderness he may not have fully understood. In places like this, it doesn't take a dramatic moment for things to go wrong. Just cold, isolation, and one missed turn. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so happy you're here, and I hope that you all had happy holidays, whatever holiday you celebrated. And I hope that you had a happy New Year's. I quickly want to talk about my New Year's resolutions last year. I actually had a goal of hiking 100 miles, and I succeeded in that goal. I actually hiked a little over 100 miles, and I also had a New Year's resolution last year of reading 30 books, and I did read 42 books. So I love making New Year's resolutions. I feel like they challenge me, and I'm always really excited to hit the ground running with them. So, whether you're a New Year's resolution person or not, if you are, we can do it. I see you, you can do it, and it's going to be a great year. 2026, I feel like, is going to be awesome. So, let's talk about today's case. So, first, I want to start off with a land acknowledgement about the Ashley National Forest. We acknowledge that the land encompassing what is now Ashley National Forest rests on the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have lived, traveled, hunted, and cared for this region for countless generations. This includes the Ute Indian tribe of the Uinta and Ouray Reservation, the Shoshone, and the Eastern Shoshone peoples. We honor their deep connection to the Uinta Mountains, the high plateaus, and the river valleys, and we recognize their ongoing presence, sovereignty, and stewardship of these lands. Okay, and now let's get with negative reviews. Someone said, "Don't go. Mosquitoes will carry away your children, sprayed or not." Now, in this area, anyone who lives among mountains and mountain lakes in the summer knows that mosquitoes are a serious problem. I hate mosquitoes, and last year I was on a hike in the Uinta Mountains, and was had a little mental breakdown because I kept spraying myself with all natural mosquito repellent, and they still were attacking me. I mean, they were like it was swarms. Not very fun. Plus, I have blood type O, so they apparently love that, which is great. Someone else said, "This place is horrible. I wouldn't waste your time going here." And then the last negative review, actually, it's the very first one that pops up when you go to the Ashley National Forest and then filter the reviews from lowest. Someone named Patrick said, "My son disappeared here 14 years ago. I come here a few times a year to commemorate him. Honestly, a decent place to explore, but based on my experience losing a child, it's a 1 star for me." So I got really curious when I saw that review. Now, could it be fake? Yes. I couldn't find, I mean, there's been quite a few children that have gone missing in this area over the last 20 years. And from everything I could find online, they were all found. So I'm not sure if this is a fake, if this is a fake review, or if he really did lose his son and it's just not in the news because it happened 18 years ago because he left that comment 4 years ago. So I don't know, but yes, a lot of people, kids mainly, have gone missing here, because it's extremely rugged, there are a lot of trails, and it's very remote. Okay, so the Ashley National Forest is located in northeastern Utah and southwestern Wyoming. It was established on July 1st, 1908, and it's over 1.3 million acres. There's only about 96,223 acres that reside in Wyoming. Now, in the Ashley National Forest, like I was saying, it's rugged, it's beautiful, it has vast forests, lakes, mountains, and the elevations range from 6,000 feet to 13,500 feet, or 1,800 kilometers to, or sorry, meters to 4,100 meters. Some of the most popular landmarks located in the forest include the Flaming Gorge National Recreation Area and the Uinta Mountains, which contains the highest mountain peak in Utah, which is Kings Peak. The forest also includes over 200,000 acres, or about 60.5% of the high Uinta's wilderness. Now, this forest is extremely old. Petroglyphs found throughout this forest suggest that the land had been hunted for centuries by Native Americans or indigenous peoples before the arrival of the Europeans. The first white men believed to have set foot in the Ashley National Forest were the Spanish explorers Dominguez and Escalante in 1776. The forest, however, was not thoroughly explored until the early 19th century when General Henry Ashley, sorry, it's a long name, William Henry Ashley, who was an organizer of a fur company, he began looking for an outlet to the Gulf of Mexico for his business. So obviously he wasn't very good at geography, but that's okay. General Ashley and his team began making their way up the Green River in the spring of 1825. After passing through the Flaming Gorge, General Ashley was convinced by the indigenous peoples to turn around and head back up to the Uinta Mountains. During his exploration, Ashley wrote and hung his name out over one of the rivers that he had explored, which now lies below the water of the Flaming Gorge Reservoir, and that is how Ashley National Forest received its name. There were many other explorers that came and explored the forest, and eventually the first settlement in the Ashley National Forest was made in 1872. It was settled by Captain Pardon Dodds, who brought about 2,000 cattle into the Uinta Basin. In a few years, all of the surrounding ranges were completely stocked with cattle and horses. There is a ton of recreation opportunities in this national forest. It actually contains four main byways to drive on, which can take visitors through many different landmarks found in the forest and offers them a chance to see various forms of wildlife. For people who prefer to walk or hike, the forest contains over 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers of hiking trails. These trails cover the entire forest, taking hikers from extensive forest to rugged mountains. It's a very, very beautiful part of the state, and if you live in Utah and haven't hiked over here, I highly suggest. Many of the trails are designated for off road vehicles as well, such as motorcycles, ATVs, and snowmobiles. Along the trails, there are many campgrounds available to visitors. And during the winter months, there are two facilities located in the forest called yurts that provide cross country skiers with an overnight room rental to escape the cold. That honestly sounds so fun to me. There are many lakes and rivers found throughout the Ashley National Forest, which allows guests to fish while they visit. Um, there's just a lot of lakes, and I don't mean like huge, huge lakes, but pretty decent sized lakes. I'm from the South, so when I think of lake, I think of like 40,000 acres instead of like a big pond over here. But a lot of the lakes are designated for motorized watercrafts. Now, a large piece of the Ashley National Forest are the Uinta Mountains. They are huge and they are a huge range and they actually extend east to west instead of north to south, just like the Washita Mountains in Arkansas. So there aren't a lot of mountain ranges that do that, but the Uintas happen to be one of the few. In terms of wildlife, there are lots and lots of different kinds of wildlife, like elk, moose, mule deer, coyotes, black bears, several raptor species, beavers, marten, river otters, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, pronghorn antelope, cougars, and marmots. And I have heard that there are mountain lions. I've never seen one while I've been out here, but I do know that the grizzlies, this would be a part of the state that the grizzlies are, they're basically in 20 years going to recolonize in Utah in this part of the state because they're coming down further and further south from Wyoming. Now, today's case actually revolves around a lake in this national forest called Moon Lake. I have never been to this lake before. I've been to many of the other lakes, but never Moon Lake. Moon Lake is a high mountain reservoir on the south slope of the High Uintas in Duchesne County, Utah. The recreation management is under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Forest Service. Now, this is at about 8,300 feet at the southern end of the Uinta mountain range. It has a broad sandy beach and steep mountains all around it. So a lot of people say that Moon Lake is one of Utah's best kept secrets. Moon Lake is interesting from what I've read online. So basically, it holds a number of secrets and mysteries. There are a lot of legends surrounding this area and Moon Lake specifically. There are tales of long lost gold mine and ghosts and all kinds of really weird stuff. There are stories of a Moon Lake monster among other legends, and that sometimes keeps people away from this area. According to the locals, Ute Indians won't come near the lake basically because of superstitions, even though their reservation is just a few miles away. And you guys know what I say about that. If the indigenous or native people don't go to these places, I would heed their warnings and beliefs. Now, from reporting done by Doug Robinson for the Deseret Times, this is what he had to say about Moon Lake. Straddling the border of the primitive area, the lake, and the surrounding region has lost none of its raw beauty. The snow capped mountains are covered with thick forests. The water and air are clean and clear. The trails endless and seemingly seldom traveled. All reason enough to see Moon Lake. So let's talk about that gold mine that I mentioned earlier. There's a legend about a gold mine called the Lost Roads Mine, and it's a legendary gold mine in the Uinta Mountains of Utah, though its existence has never been verified. There's folklore surrounding it and involves early settlers, the Ute people, Spanish miners, and despite many searches, no credible evidence of its discovery has ever been found. But this is why it's famous. So, this legend originates from someone called Thomas Rhodes, who was a Kentucky born member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, or Mormon Church. Rhodes joined the church in Illinois in 1835, and he did participate in Western migration. So, the Mormon settlers coming out here. In 1846, he traveled to California, where he worked for John Sutter during the early California gold rush. He then returned to Utah in 1849 and he brought back significant amounts of gold, some of which was allegedly used to support the Deseret Mint. Now, this is where it gets interesting. In 1852, Rhodes was reportedly commissioned by Brigham Young himself to retrieve gold from a location known to Ute tribal leaders, particularly Chief Walcara. The Ute allegedly revealed the location of abandoned Spanish gold mines under the condition that the gold would be used solely for the benefit of the LDS Church. While Kara's conditions included secrecy, limited access, and oversight by the Ute people. So basically, this mine is often linked to Spanish explorers who operated in this region before the Mormon pioneers. Evidence cited by treasure hunters and historians includes petroglyphs, Spanish symbols, waybills, and historical accounts describing mining activity. Some sources also describe furnaces and tunnels purportedly used by Spanish miners. I also want to mention the Josephine mine. This is referenced in some accounts as a part of the Lost Roads mine legend, and it's believed to be a remnant of Spanish mining operations in the Uinta Mountains. Gary Holt, who's a Summit County resident, he actually claims to have found the mine and stated that the mine is located near Hoyt's Peak. And he also says it dates back to Jesuit priests in 1650. Holt markets a material called goldcrite, which is a fibrous calcite he claims contains traces of gold, and he estimates its value at $30 million. Holt has also argued that natural obstacles, such as steam vents and water from the nearby caldera, may have hindered earlier mining efforts. Now, my father in law has talked about this mine before. I don't think he's ever been, I've never been, but there are supposedly abandoned gold mines scattered all around this national forest. Treasure hunters have sought to find the Lost Roads mine for over a century, drawn by reports of hidden wealth and its legendary status. While some accounts distinguish the Josephine mine as a separate location, others conflate it with the broader Lost Roads mine legend. So these are like two in the same, but not really. Now, this mine didn't just come up out of nowhere. Gail Rhodes and Carrie Ross Boren, authors of Footprints in the Wilderness, A History of the Lost Roads Mine, they helped popularize the legend in the 20th century. Originally published in 1860, their book was revised and expanded in 1980. Now, there have been expeditions to look for this place, and expeditions by figures such as George Tommy Thompson and Mel Fisher have included scuba dives in Scout Lake to search for underwater entrances to the mine. However, no verifiable discoveries have been made. I have been to Scout Mine before, or Scout Lake, and it's really pretty. Claims by Gary Holt of extracting fibrous calcite from Hoyt's Peak remain controversial among experts. U.S. Forest Service archaeologist Tom Flanagan has dismissed such claims as treasure hunting fantasies rather than legitimate mining. This is what I find to be interesting about this legendary mine. There are legends or stories that suggest that it contains the golden plates of the Book of Mormon and the Sword of Laban, referencing elements of the LDS Church scripture. I hope I'm saying that right. Other accounts describe supernatural guardians such as cherubim, which protect the mine. Now, despite skepticism from geologists and the possibility of significant gold deposits in the Uinta Mountains, proponents of the legend cite unexplained findings such as Spanish carvings, prayer trees, and historical accounts of treasure in the region. Some claim that the gold from the mine was used to adorn the Angel Moroni statue atop the Salt Lake Temple, though this claim remains unverified. So, I am not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints or the Mormon Church. So, I don't know if this is like a larger legend within the church itself. I would think that most members know about this mine, especially if they live and are from Utah. I just don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And even a family member that I talked to that was a member of the LDS church did know about this. So I don't know if it's just because he's from the area or if it's because it's a common legend among church members. Okay, so let's talk about our case. We're going to head to Moon Lake, which sits high in Utah's Uinta Mountains. Beautiful, remote, and unforgiving. In winter, it's a place where roads vanish under snow and silence stretches for miles. It's also where a young Finnish tourist was believed to be last headed and where his trail goes cold. Okay, and this is someone that is not from the United States, so I'm going to try to say his name as best as I can. His name is Oni Ilmari Racina. So he was 28 years old and he came to Utah and he flew in from Finland to Salt Lake City in March of 2025. He was picked up at the Salt Lake City airport, but there's no exact information about who he boarded with. There's a video that shows him getting into a yellow taxi at the airport. And this man, Oni, he was wearing a black backpack. Now, this is where the trail in the story gets very interesting. So, the Duchesne County Sheriff's Office said they were contacted by the family of 28-year-old Oni on March 17th, 2025. The sheriff's office first asked for information about Oni's whereabouts in a social media post 2 days later on March 19th. The sheriff's office did release more information on March 31st, with officials saying he was believed to be heading to the Moon Lake area of Duchesne County. It was reported that Oni read stories about Moon Lake, buried treasure at Moon Lake, and so he wanted to go up and see it for himself. Duchesne County Sheriff's Office Captain John Crowley said, quote, "We just know his cell phone pinged up here, and we have no sign of him. From what we've seen on that airport video of the backpack he carried, he did not have the right equipment to be up in the Uintas." End quote. According to the Duchesne County Sheriff's Office, Oni was last seen in the Talmadge Mountain Home area of Utah. Police and volunteers searched for Oni in the snowy wilderness. Oni's family also traveled to the site and searched for him for 2 weeks, according to a local Fox channel. April 3rd, 2025, he was put into NamUs, but when I clicked on the link, it says, quote, "The requested page could not be found." So I do think that is interesting because I did find articles about him being put into NamUs, but whenever I click on his link or the link that would take you to his page, it does not work. I mean, the NamUs website works, but it says the requested page could not be found. So I'm wondering if he was taken off of NamUs for some reason. Now, he's still missing to this day. It's almost been an entire year and no one knows where Oni is. So I'm really not sure why his NamUs page wouldn't be working now if he's still missing. Now, of course, I went to Reddit, and so take this with a grain of salt. There was a Redditor that commented on an article about Oni being missing, and this person says, "I grew up camping at Moon Lake for 30 years. If he did, in fact, make it there, there is no way he could survive the brutal cold without proper gear. The area is windy, stormy, and not made for whim hiking by yourself without knowledge of the area, especially off trail. There are plenty of places to slip and fall, plenty of phantom trails people look for when hunting treasure. But who knows? There are a million questions as to where exactly he ended up or if he really did make it to the lake. There's no cell service for miles out there, so he would have been totally screwed." Now, another Redditor commented, "I have vacation at Moon Lake for 39 years and know that area quite well. Something about the story doesn't sit right with me. I don't think he could have gotten up there in the winter, unless he was on a snowmobile or something of that nature. While I was up there in early June 2025, I saw some Duchesne County employees. I asked them if there were any updates, and they said there were no updates. Personally, I suspect that he never made it up there. I also find it really strange that you cannot find anything about this other than when he first went missing. I am good friends with some of the employees at the lodge at Moon Lake. They say they were never even given any missing posters or anything to put up. Something seems really strange about this." Now, I do have to agree with both of those commenters. Oni would not have survived in the harsh winter up there without the proper gear. And I also think it's very interesting that there have been no updates at all or news stories published at all, basically saying that anything else has happened. I don't even know how to put words together right now. The only things I could find online is just that this man, this Finnish tourist, flew into Salt Lake, was last seen getting into a taxi, and now he's missing. And he went to go find treasure. That's it. That is all that is online. Now, Oni's story did remind me of a similar story that happened in 2023. Now, 2023 is the year that I moved to Utah. So when I saw this story come up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just wild. So, this is about another man who traveled far from far away and went missing in the Uintas. 35-year-old Justin Corsi was last seen on December 21st, 2023. His car was then found abandoned in a national forest. Now, at the time of his disappearance, Justin actually lived in near Paducah, Kentucky. And on the 21st or 22nd of 2023 of December, he was last seen by a gas station attendant in Salem, Kentucky. So that was his last known location. He was apparently driving his grandmother's vehicle, which was later found abandoned in, you guessed it, Duchesne County, Utah. Now, on January 16th, 2024, the vehicle that Justin was driving was found, and the car was located about 11 miles from a paved road. So it was in a really remote area. 11 miles on a dirt road doesn't seem like a lot, but let me tell you, it is forever to get there. Multiple searches in the area where his vehicle was found were conducted, but there were no additional clues as to his whereabouts that were ever found in those searches. Now, I was actually waiting for something to happen in this case, but it went cold until this past October 2025. His remains were found, no news articles say where they were found or how. I literally couldn't find anything online except that his remains were found. Now, this is from the Finding Justin Facebook page. After 1 year, 9 months, and 13 days of searching, praying, holding on to hope, we finally have some answers. Justin remains have been found and positively identified. It's hard to put into words the mix of emotions we're feeling right now: grief, relief, heartbreak, and gratitude all at once. While this isn't the ending we prayed for, at least we now can lay him to rest and bring him home where he belongs. Justin will forever be remembered as a loving husband, an amazing father to James and Abel, and a man whose laughter, heart, and spirit touched so many lives. Thank you to everyone who has supported us, shared his story, prayed with us, and refused to give up hope. Your love and kindness have meant more than words can ever say. Services have not yet been set in stone, but I will post another update as soon as I do. In the meantime, feel free to please reach out. Forever in our hearts, never forgotten. So, I wanted to include Justin's case because at the time that I was kind of planning out what cases I'd be covering this year, I did not know that Justin's remains had been found, so I thought it was a little strange that 2 men from far away would travel all the way out to Utah to just vanish in this specific national forest. Now that Justin's remains have been found, I find it less mysterious. From what I could tell online, it seemed like Justin might have been struggling with mental health issues and probably drove out here to commit suicide, which is really sad. But I'm glad his family finally has his remains to properly bury. So I just think I don't know, it's interesting. Like nothing I could find online about Justin or Oni. There's not much out there about either of these cases. Now, a lot of people online seem to think that Oni might have been a victim of foul play shortly after he left the airport. So, apparently, from what I could gather online, I don't really think he let his family know that he was coming over to Utah. I think it was a very spur of the moment trip. It was not very planned out, just based on how he looked and what he was carrying in the Salt Lake airport. He didn't have winter gear. He would have had to have a large amount of winter extreme weather gear to go up to Moon Lake during the winter. Nothing's open there. Roads are closed unless you're on snowmobile. And it would have been very hard to treasure hunt with like 10 feet of snow. I saw other theories online that maybe he joined a cult out here. I don't know about cults out here, but that was one of the theories. Like maybe he just used treasure as I don't know, like a cover story and instead had found a community out here he wanted to become a member of and go off grid. Do I think that's possible? Yes, but I think it's probably not likely what happened. Now, did Oni really come out here to hunt treasure? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows except Oni. I think if we're going to talk about theories, Occam's razor. I think he might have came out here because he heard the stories, read things online. He might have even been struggling with his mental health. I really don't know. I don't think he ever made it out to Moon Lake. First of all, what taxi is going to drive you 2.5, 3 hours out into the wilderness with closed roads, snow, and everything? I just find that extremely unlikely. That would have been a very expensive taxi fare, probably like $250 if I had to guess, or more. So, personally, I think that Oni was probably a victim of foul play. Maybe he stopped somewhere in Salt Lake and someone knew, obviously, that he was a foreigner, didn't have anybody here. Maybe he even talked about going to treasure hunt and they just saw an opportunity and took it. I'm really hoping that 2026 brings answers for Oni's friends and family because this case is stranger than fiction. Moon Lake remains frozen for much of the year, a quiet basin tucked deep into the Uintas. The trails disappear under snow. The trees stand still. And somewhere out there, the answers about what happened to Oni may still be waiting. There's no sign of violence, no confirmed trail, just a young man far from home, drawn to a wilderness he may not have fully understood. In places like Moon Lake, it doesn't take a dramatic moment for things to go wrong, just cold, isolation, and one missed turn. Search crews did what they could against weather and terrain that didn't give much back. And now the case sits in the familiar space between accident and mystery. One more name added to the long list of people who came to America's wild places and never made it home. For Oni's family, the waiting continues, and for the mountains, nothing has changed. Out here, silence isn't empty. It's full of stories, some of them unfinished. Oni was 5 feet 9 inches tall, has blue eyes and blonde hair. He is described as a white male, and sometimes reporting says that he has short strawberry blonde hair. So, this is what John Crowley had to say about this case. I need the public's help immensely. We have a gentleman who's not from our country. The family doesn't even know why he left or anything else. In 30 years of law enforcement, I've never had to deal with a gentleman who flew in from Finland to go hiking up there. If you have any information about Oni's whereabouts or have been in contact with him, please reach out to Captain John Crowley at the Duchesne County Sheriff's Office by calling 435 738 1126, or I'll attach an email in the show notes. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad-free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.